Hi guys, today we'll be covering a 7-episode 2022 action miniseries called Yakima's S-245. Sit tight, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the movie. At the beginning of the episode, we see some of the sun's harmful gamma rays being blasted into the direction of the planets. Soon it's certain to arrive on Earth as well. The scene then shifts to Armin, who's a diving instructor, diving into the sea and capturing pictures. Later, while heading home, he catches up with some of his acquaintances who are selling fruits and veggies at the market. Next, Daphne, Armin's ex-girlfriend, shows up to meet with him. She asks Armin if he'll accompany her, Rana, Felix, and Sem to the Erebus Trench. There, they'll dive for almost 15 hours, she tells Armin. However, Armin declines to accompany them after learning that Yanelic Inc., a business owned by his father, is the sponsor for Erebus Trench. Daphne tries to convince Armin to rethink Erebus Trench before leaving. Later that night, we see a scene from space where a satellite that's orbiting the sun gets destroyed by the sun's damaging gamma rays as they travel toward the planets. The dangerous radiation is now traveling directly to Mercury. One of the lieutenants at Incirlik Air Base Adana, named Hatis Celix, notices this incident and informs her commanders about it. The following day, Armin changes his mind and chooses to join Daphne at the Erebus Trench. Soon, Armin arrives at Daphne's hotel. He becomes a little upset when he sees Daphne's fiancé at the hotel. Soon, she briefs Armin on the strategy and informs them that his father, who's sponsoring their trip, is searching for fossil fuel in the Mediterranean Sea's Erebus Trench. However, a moment later, Daphne reveals to him the true purpose of this expedition. She informs Armin that she's discovered Antipatheria, a location in the Mediterranean that hasn't been seen in 100 years. Armin is delighted to hear this information because Antipatheria has a lot of Cevalia savaglia, a type of black coral that Armin has been looking for years. Later that evening, Armin reaches the port where he meets with Rana and Felix. Armin feels a little upset when he finds that Daphne's fiancé will also be accompanying them on their trip. On the other hand, we see that Lieutenant Hatis overhears their commanders discussing how there isn't much time left for them before the dangerous gamma rays reach Earth and destroy the atmosphere. Hatis contacts her mother and tells her to hide in any basement before Thursday morning. Then she escapes her home as 2 soldiers arrive to capture her. Back at the ship, before traveling to the Erebus Trench, Daphne decides to do a preliminary dive into the water to test their submarine named Oya. They begin their descent into the sea in the Oya. A few hours later, they notice a flash of light. Armin is suspicious because they're in the sea's aphotic zone, where everything should be pitch black. They soon return to the surface. Once there, they try to contact their ship on the surface, but no one responds. Armin is wary and enters the ship by himself. He notices that no one is aboard the ship as everyone is left. Moments later, Daphne also enters the ship, and they both begin the search. A few moments later, they discover a laptop with a video of Daphne's fiancé playing. In the video, he claims that the sun's rays are killing every human on the Earth and that they're on their way to a bunker in Kos. Armin and Daphne also plan to visit that bunker in Kos. They immediately inform Rana, Felix, and Sem about the situation. Then they quickly arrive on the surface to charge Oya before heading to Kos. Later, they discover that there's no one in the area and that there's no electricity. Soon after, a large submarine known as Yakima's S-245 comes up from the sea. S-245 Yakima's is a large military submarine. Once on the surface, the Navy troops come out from the submarine and are confused by the complete absence of electricity and phone reception. Armin informs the commander of Yakima's S-245, named Arane, about the sun's rays that are killing everyone. He also informs Commander Arane about the Kos secret bunker. Soon after, Daphne and Armin start searching for the location of a bunker in Kos. Umut, the Yakima's S-245 subcommander, also joins them. Meanwhile, Felix and Sam are looking for a transformer to fix and charge their Oya. In the next scene, Daphne, Armin, and Umut arrive in the city of Kos Island. There they discover that no one is alive. Everyone appears to be burnt from within. Daphne soon realizes that she recognizes the location and rushes to find the bunker. Moments later, they get to the church and discover that everyone there is also dead. Soon, Yakima's troops also arrive in that town. Once there, Umut orders them to look for the bunker. Moments later, one of the troops discovers a surviving individual. Armin, Daphne, and Umut all arrive, hoping to learn how he survived. Armin attempts to speak with the survivor, but receives very little information. However, Umut shoots the survivor dead, saying he did him a favor. As the man was in so much pain and dying a slow, painful death, Moments later, Commander Arane of the Yakima's S-245 arrives and orders everyone to return to the Yakimas, where they'll dive into the sea in half an hour. Armin and Daphne request permission from the commander to extend their search for Daphne's fiancé Keenan, to which the commander agrees. Meanwhile, we see a couple of Navy troops stealing money and gold from the vault of the unlocked bank. That very moment, another soldier arrives and apprehends them. He tells them to stop stealing, but they don't listen and start fighting. Soon after, the chief engineer of the Yakimas, Engine, arrives and stops them from fighting. All this is taking place inside the bank's vault. On the other hand, Felix and Sem are successful in fixing the transformer, and the town's electricity is restored. Daphne and Armin hear a street broadcast that the shelter is in Tagaki. Soon enough, they head for Tagaki, which is located on the higher hills of the island. There, they discover a bunker. When they enter the bunker, they're shocked to find that everyone inside is also dead. Looking carefully, Daphne discovers the body of her dead fiancé as well. Then they exit the bunker and head for the submarine. At the same time, Engine's squad is now trapped inside the bank's vault after the power comes back. Back at the Yakimas, Commander Arane directs that all troops board the submarine. They don't have much time left before the sun rises, so they must act quickly. Because they don't have much time, and Engine's squad is stranded in the bank's vault, the commander chooses to leave them and board the submarine anyway. The sub-commander, Yumet, appears to be disappointed by this decision because he doesn't want to leave Engine's unit behind. Soon they all board the submarine and are ready to go. Moments later, Armin and Daphne arrive at the submarine and are detained outside. Yumet instructs his commander not to open the hatch because he believes Armin and Daphne are responsible for Engine's squad being stuck inside the vault. However, after a few seconds, the commander decides to take them inside the submarine. Inside the submarine, the operations officer of the Yakimas, Yonka, is seen explaining the submarine's laws to Armin, Rana, Daphne, Felix, and Sem. She then takes them to the submarine's control room. There, Yonka shows them the submarine's primary torpedo storage compartment and informs them that this is where they're permitted to sleep. Soon after, Yonka offers Engine's room to Rana and Daphne. Later, Daphne tells Rana that they're not welcome aboard the submarine and that they should take precautions with Sub-Commander Yumet. Suddenly, the submarine's hydraulics fail and it begins to lose control. Armin assists other officers in regaining control of the ship. His abilities under such a situation impressed Commander Arane. He learns that Armin has created small submarines and is well versed in them. Commander Arane offers him the role of chief engineer on the submarine, and Armin agrees to it. However, Sub-Commander Yumet is dissatisfied with this decision. He warns Armin that if he makes a mistake, he will kill him and his friends one by one. Next, we see that Yumet visits Commander Arane and informs them that it's an odd circumstance that NATO assigns them to an underwater assignment on the day of the incident with the sun. Also on the same day, Armin's unit was also underwater. Back in the control room, Armin and the Navy troops are seen disagreeing with each other as the Navy troops do not seem to welcome Armin's instructions. Meanwhile, the task of cleaning the submarine's tunnel, rooms, and toilets is assigned to Daphne, Rana, Felix, and Sem. Suddenly, some Navy troops arrive and begin assaulting Sem and others. Daphne then rushes to Armin and informs him of the assault. She tells him that they will never be okay in this place. Armin understands the problem and asks her to relax because they're in their submarine and can't do anything about it right now. However, the commander assures them that they'll be all right as long as he's on board the submarine. Back in the troops' cabin, one of them, Barris, tells his fellow soldier Alton that he spotted a woman under their cabin's underground passage. Alton suspects it's Daphne and goes to check if it's her. He then accuses Daphne of stealing cans from them and attempts to assault her. But Officer Yonka arrives and stabilizes the situation. Then Officer Alton wakes up every crew member on the submarine and directs them to the junior mess area. Armin also awakens when he hears them. The entire force, including the commander and sub-commander, arrives. Then Officer Alton informs the commander that he dislikes Armin and the others because he believes they're to blame for Engine's death. He urges the commander to disembark them from their submarine, but the commander disagrees. Armin informs them that everyone outside is dead and that they might be the only ones left alive. Therefore, they should stick together and work together. If done correctly, they may be able to aid each other and get out of the situation. On the other hand, Barris grabs a hand grenade and heads to the torpedo storage area, which is filled with explosives. The commander and sub-commander rush to the torpedo storage facility after hearing about Barris, while Armin follows them. Commander Arane tries to persuade Barris to hand over the grenade, but Barris refuses. He believes that the end of the world has arrived and that everyone must die. Commander Arane suddenly locks the torpedo storage room, leaving him and Barris alone. Soon, the torpedo storage compartment explodes after Barris detonates the hand grenade, and the seawater begins filling up that space. Next, we see hundreds of dead fish floating on the water's surface. Back in the submarine, Armin, Umut, and other troops are attempting to fix the exploded torpedo chamber. Moments later, Armin realizes that they cannot repair it from within the submarine and that someone must go outside to repair the damage. Armin agrees to go out, but he needs someone with technical skills to assist him outdoors. Umut suggests that Yanka accompany him. Yanka is seen crying in her chamber because her father, Commander Arane, is no longer alive. Soon, Umut, Daphne, and Armin enter Yanka's chamber, and Umut instructs her to accompany Armin to fix the submarine. Soon after, Yanka and Armin exit the submarine and immediately begin working on the submarine's damage. Moments later, a shark appears and attempts to attack Yanka but fails. As a result of this incident, Yanka loses her father's chain, which she was wearing on her clothes. She tries to reclaim the chain, but to no avail. She soon discovers that she's strayed far from the submarine and is unable to locate it in the sea. Fortunately, Armin finds Yanka and saves her. Finally, they both return back to the submarine. After that, we see that they all hold a meeting. Commander Umut informs everyone that they're now ready to move. He says they're heading to the Iskenderun naval base. Following that, we observe an emotional exchange between Yanka and Umut. They're both chatting about their time at the academy and discussing their interactions with Commander Arane. Armin, on the other hand, realizes Sem's condition has worsened. A few hours later, they arrive at the naval base at Iskenderun. They all come out of the submarine and start exploring the base. Umut and his squad enter the headquarters of the Iskenderun naval base and discover that, once again, everyone is dead. We soon witness the military burying the dead soldiers. The soldiers then carry out a proper military funeral for Commander Arane. After that, they continue to dive every day to repair the submarine. It's taking them a long time to repair the submarine's damage because it needs to be done in a dry environment, not in the sea. One night, Umut assigns responsibilities to everyone. He instructs Armin to do whatever's necessary to repair the submarine's damage. He instructs Yanka to check the submarine's supplies for them at the naval base station. Daphne is instructed to look in the doctor's office and instructs Rana to follow her. Armin and Daphne can be seen conversing. Daphne asks Armin whether this is how they will live in the submarine from now on. Armin responds by saying that it seems to be the case now. In the next scene, Umut and Rana are in the Iskenderun naval base's control room. They're looking to see if anyone visits or leaves the region. He asks Rana if she can be trusted and if she knows anything about the sun's event that's been going around. He inquires of Rana about how they were diving in the sea on the same day of the occurrence and how they bumped into each other on the same day. Rana tells Umut that Daphne is the best person to discuss these topics because she has almost no information. Later, Yanka and Alton are seen gathering supplies from the supplies room. Alton consumes some of the meals and then complains to Yanka about how tasteless they are. Food doesn't taste the same as it used to. Moments later, they hear a sound, and Yanka and Alton decide to follow it. Next, Daphne and Sem are in the medical room, grabbing medicines for their supply. Felix and Armin are eating dinner and discussing inside the submarine. Soon, Felix goes to the kitchen to add some more food and hears an odd sound. He follows the sound and discovers that an unknown person has infiltrated the submarine. Felix goes after the person, but he manages to flee and enters the naval base office. The Navy personnel are also alert and begin searching as well. Soon we see that Felix is held at gunpoint by this vigilante figure. It's finally revealed that Lieutenant Hatis, who escaped from her home earlier in the episode, is the vigilante. After a chaotic encounter, Hatis is surrounded by troops and she surrenders to the Navy. Commander Umut then starts questioning Hatis about who she is, where she came from, and if she knows anything about the incident with the sun. But Hatis doesn't say anything. In contrast, we see Felix discover a secret underground corridor in the submarine where Hatis has been hiding all along. He finds her clothing and learns that she's a lieutenant. He then rushes over to Umut and shows him the clothes. Later, Hatis then introduces herself as Lieutenant Hatis Selix of the Incirlik Air Base. Next, Lieutenant Hatis informs Umut that she's been lurking in the submarine since the first day and has been monitoring them all. She also informs them that she knows everything there is to know about everyone on the submarine. Umut and Yanka are shocked by Hatis's words. She tells them about their previous commander Arame and how he'd been attempting to contact the outside world without informing them. And all of this can be found in Arane's logbook. Moments later, Umut and Yanka discover the logbook, which has the names Armin, Felix, Sem, Rana, and Daphne. The name Daphne was circled and crossed out. Hatis informs Umut that Daphne is someone to be cautious of, as she may have knowledge about the incident with the sun. In the next scene, Daphne is seen entering the naval base office's control room by herself. She's attempting to connect her satellite phone to the computer. However, she fails to do so. Back in the submarine, 2 Navy soldiers are critically ill. Armin believes they may have caught something when burying the victims earlier. Armin, Umit, and Yonka then seek Sem's assistance. Sem informs them that the sickness could be caused by the tasteless naval base food that they gathered earlier. Also, Umit releases Hatis and asks if she can assist him, to which she agrees. Later, Umit gathers everyone on the docks and instructs them to look for canned food in the area. Next, we see Umit and Hatis in the control room looking for information about Daphne. They soon uncover information and see some of Daphne's deep-sea articles. Now, Umit has his suspicions about what Daphne's looking for in the deep sea. Daphne, on the other hand, is searching for canned goods with Yonka. While looking for food, Yonka tells Daphne that it's weird how they bumped into one another on the same day after the incident with the sun. She inquires if Daphne has ever met her father, Arane. Daphne responds that she hasn't met him before. But now, Daphne starts to suspect why Yonka is questioning her so randomly. In the next scene, they all see an airplane flying in the sky. Umit and Hatis immediately make their way to the control room. Hatis uses the computer to look up information about the plane. Then they try to hear a noise through their headphones. Umit listens to it and reports that it's in Russian and that there's a message being transmitted about the space station and the cosmonauts. On the other hand, Felix and Rana discover an entire garage room filled with canned goods. Armin and Daphne arrive as well. When they try to eat the canned food, they discover that it's all tasteless and useless. After that, Umit once again calls everyone into the control room. Hatis discovers further information about the plane. She finds that the airplane landed in Brussels 27 minutes ago. Armin thinks that they may have landed there for fuel, and they're trying to beat the sun by flying westward. He concludes that they'll pass by there again. Meanwhile, Daphne and Sem are seen sitting along the seashore. There, Sem tells Daphne about his childhood experiences involving his mother, father, and grandmother. Back in the control room, Hatis notices that the plane that was headed west is now heading straight for them. Umit tells Hatis not to make contact with the plane since they're not sure if it's a friend or an enemy. Armin claims that they must contact them to obtain further information, and they might be carrying some food. But Umit orders that no contact be made with them, and orders everyone to leave the area immediately and dive into the submarine. On the other hand, Sem informs Daphne that he'll not return to the submarine and has chosen to stay on the surface. Daphne tries to convince him, but she's unsuccessful and boards the submarine without him. In the submarine, Armin is upset at Daphne since she abandoned Sem on the surface. Then we witness Rana get unconscious in the submarine, and Commander Umit saves her and transports her to his chamber. He shows Rana a family photo and tells her about his wife Azra. Soon after, Commander Umit plays a song that can be heard throughout the submarine. At last, we see a scene from the surface where Sem is on his way to the beach to watch the sunrise. He collapses and dies after the sun rises. We see Armin and others discover Sem's body near the shore as Armin, Felix, Rana, and Daphne are all in tears. Heartbroken, they all return to the control room of the Iskenderun naval base. There, Hatis locates the plane's last known location in Bulgaria. Daphne informs others that while working for NATO, she heard they have a bunker in Bulgaria. She then hears voices through her headphones. The speakers are in Spanish and indicate they have a bunker in a mine near the Spanish city of Gijón and are accepting refugees. Next, Umit informs everyone that Iskenderun is no longer their home base and that they would be traveling to Bulgaria. Daphne appears dissatisfied with his decision to travel to Bulgaria. Seeing this, Yonka questions Daphne about why she's upset, as she's the one who mentioned the bunker in Bulgaria. After seeing the naval troops transfer all the guns into the submarine, Daphne informs Yonka that Umit is the source of the problem. Then we see Yonka come to meet Commander Umit. Yonka is spying on her, and she informs Umit that she's found no evidence of Daphne working for NATO. She also informs him that Daphne is questioning the submarine's leadership. Commander Umit discovers a small secret paper in the Arane's logbook on which some code is written. He attempts to log into Arane's account using the code but fails. Soon after, he hears on the radio that there's a shelter in Norway. Meanwhile, Armin is seen celebrating Daphne's birthday with her. After a few minutes, Commander Umit meets everyone and informs them that they've changed course and are now traveling to Norway rather than Bulgaria. However, Armin, Daphne, and others are dissatisfied with the decision and question Umit's judgment. Umit says they'll go to the Doomsday Vault in Norway and collect all the seeds from there, planting them inside the submarine to grow food. However, Daphne is opposed to this decision because Norway is 7 days away and they may not have enough food till then. Then Armin suggests that since Spain is on their way to Norway, they should stop there first. Finally, Commander Umit then chooses to travel to the Gijón mine in Spain. After a while, Daphne is seen using her laptop and satellite phone to send a message to someone. Hatis suspects Daphne when she hears the sound of the phone. In the next scene, They arrive in the Spanish port of Gijón. Commander Umit directs everyone to search the region and takes a team to the Gijón mine. He enters the Gijón mine with Armin, Daphne, and 2 other troops after arriving, but they're all being observed by someone beneath the mine. Once they reach the bottom of the mine, they begin looking for any human remains down there. Just then, someone appears out of nowhere and grabs a hold of the troop. Armin tries to persuade him otherwise. Within a few seconds, more people who are just miners arrive and encircle them. On the other hand, we see Hattis looking for something inside Daphne's room in the submarine. Alton soon arrives and confronts Hattis. A fight breaks out between them, and Hattis causes Alton to pass out. She then finds Daphne's laptop and opens it, discovering a message relating to the sun's incident that's been going around. Back in the mine, the miners explain that the fake alert was set up so that someone could come and rescue them. The miners reveal that they want to go in the submarine with them. However, Commander Umit does not want miners to accompany them, so he starts firing and a fight breaks out between them. At the surface of the mine, Yonka, Rana, and Felix discover the mine's control room. Felix tries to repair the elevator but fails to do so. Yonka, on the other hand, chooses to climb inside the mine since she heard a gunshot earlier. Then we see Daphne running around in the mines trying to save her. Meanwhile, Armin and Umit are engaged in fierce combat with the miners. Daphne arrives at a location where she witnesses the human body parts that the miners were feeding on. Yonka soon arrives at Daphne's position, and the 2 rush to the elevator. Finally, Armin and Umit also make it to the elevator and thankfully escape the mine. Then they all flee back to the port except for Armin and Daphne, who have lost their car keys someplace. They begin racing toward the port, while some of the miners chase after them. Soon they arrive at the port after a few minutes, and the Navy troops manage to shoot some of the miners down. But Daphne becomes entangled in a rope and falls, and one of the miners is successful in capturing her. Armin then tries to persuade the miner that if he lets go of Daphne, they will take him with them. But Umit isn't having it, and he begins shooting at the miners once more. At last, Daphne is stabbed in the back by the miner during the shooting, which leads to her death. The last episode begins as we see Armin is unconscious and the rest are diving in the seawater. He soon wakes up and inquires about Daphne. Immediately, he realizes that Daphne is no longer alive and bursts into tears. On the other hand, Umit is attempting to log into Erinne's account, and luckily this time, he finally manages to log in after several failed tries. He's surprised when he sees NATO's communication to Erinne about their mission. Commander Umit summons everyone in the submarine's control room to a meeting. Umit informs everyone about what he saw in the message. Apparently, after the sun incident, NATO assigned Commander Erinne to a search and rescue operation to save Armin, Daphne, Rana, Felix, and Sem. But Erinne doesn't tell anyone about it and keeps it a secret. They did, however, run into each other at Kos. Suddenly, Armin appears in the control room in a rage. He tries to assault Commander Umit for what he did at the docks. However, the Navy troops capture and detain him. In the next scene, we see Armin is tied and kept in isolation. Umit and Yonka are attempting to decipher the contents of Erinne's account. Alton then arrives and informs Umit that Felix and Rana are not working. When the commander arrives at the scene, Felix and Rana demand that he release Armin before they'll work. The commander, on the other hand, disagrees and keeps Rana and Felix on the isolation list, where they're only allowed water and no food. After some time, Hattis is seen attempting to speak with Felix concerning Daphne and other matters. But Felix refuses to speak to her and questions if she's on their side or the commander's side, to which she responds that she's neutral. Later, Felix then visits Armin and informs him that the Yakima's submarine was on a rescue mission to save them. Armin tells Phoenix that he needs to speak with Yonka right away. Next, Yonka pays Armin a visit. She hands over Daphne's neck chain to Armin, explaining that it was the only thing she could collect from Daphne. Then Armin tells Yonka that their commander is no longer mentally able to lead them, and that he'll prove it to her if she can get Commander Umit to speak to him alone. Yonka agrees. In the next scene, Commander Umit visits Armin. He unties him and serves him food. After finishing his food, Armin informs him that if he wants Felix and Rana to work on growing seeds on the submarine, he must first make a sacrifice. Armin informs him that he must leave his 2 Navy troops, Alton and Ahmet, behind in Norway to die. Umit agrees to help. However, Armin quickly informs Umit that their chat is being heard by everyone in the submarine. Umit becomes outraged because of Armin's sneaky tactic. Eventually, things start to go wrong in the control room. Sub-Commander Yonka informs Commander Umit that she's overthrowing him as captain because he's unable to command them while he's mentally ill. Umit is enraged and threatens to shoot Armin and others. Soon after, he hands his revolver to a troop and orders them to shoot either him or Armin. As a result, Armin tries his best to persuade that troop. He He informs them that only by living together can they overcome the sun situation that's happening around the world. Armin tells them to trust him and that they must learn to trust and believe in one another. Finally, the troop hands over the pistol as the situation inside the control room slowly begins to cool down. In the next scene, Yonka is appointed as the new commander of the Yakimas by the Navy troops. Yonka expresses gratitude to all troops, especially Armin. After a while, Hatis, Armin, Yonka, and Felix are on the computer reading Erine's message. They also discover coordinates that point to a location in the Indian Ocean. Finally, they arrive in Norway. The submarine reaches the sea's surface as Yonka immediately attempts to contact Daphne's satellite phone. When she dials the phone, a man on the other end answers and requests to speak to Daphne and Armin. Yonka hands Armin the phone, and it's revealed that the man on the other end is Armin's father. He then reveals that he already knew about the sun's incident and how he had devised a plan with Daphne to save him shortly before the sun's disaster. Armin is furious about hearing this. His father asks him to come to the coast of the Indian Ocean, where a new life is beginning. However, they must first obtain seeds from the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway. Next, Armin, Rana, and one troop exit from the submarine and proceed to the vault to get the seeds. Rana and the troop head to the vault to collect the seeds, while Armin searches for other necessary equipment. Back in the submarine, Hatis and Yonka discuss Armin's father and how he knew everything about the sun's incident before it happened. Hatis then goes to see Yumit, who's being held in isolation. She asks Yumit whether he knows anything about Armin's father, Asil Kaya. Yumit informs Hatis that before all of this, Asil Kaya was one of the wealthiest men in the world. She also informs Yumit that Asil is still alive and is now on the coast of the Indian Ocean near Diego Garcia. In the final scene, we see Rana return to the submarine and inform them that there are people up there. Hatis releases Yumit from isolation, and Armin, who enters a room for equipment, notices a man pointing a gun at someone. Alton soon notices a missile flying right for the Yakimas. He notifies everyone, and they hurry to return to the sea. Meanwhile, Armin is attempting to talk that man out of shooting. In the end, the victims manage to flee, and the man shoots Armin, causing Armin to collapse to the ground.